Well, I'd like to start off by talking about your first comic entitled To Hell You Ride. For those who don't know, can you tell us how you came up with that idea?
Well, let me just tell you this. This morning I got an email from, it's called a major, wait, what is it called? Major Spoilers. And they got us as one of the top 5 comics right now,
Oh,
which
excellent.
was a big shock. It's like, wow, I saw his review and I knew he liked it, but he gave us 5 out of 5, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, that's
But
a
anyway,
good start to the day.
yeah, we've been working on it about a year and a half now. And it came from a movie script I wrote about, it's been about 35 years ago. And over the years, of course, I was a younger actor and nobody wanted to make my movie. So the script inevitably got lost. But I had been up to a town called Telluride, Colorado, and it was almost 40 years ago. God, time is flying by. But anyway, uh, and I saw this town, which was at the end of a road. Really, it's a ski resort now, but back then it was a lot less polished. It was just a small town at the end of a road, and there were vertical cliffs all the way around it. So it was like a box canyon. And I went into the bar and sat there and had a beer, and the whole idea just dropped right in my lap. The environment, the people, and I found out, that back in the day, back in the 1800s, they used to put 4 riflemen up on the ridges and hold cowboys in there as slave miners. They couldn't get out.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It was a crazy environment, and it provoked the whole story. But it's really changed a lot. Joe Mandrake and Tom Mandrake are involved, and we all kind of have been working on this, channeling the whole story. It's changed radically, but really wonderfully. So I'm very proud of it and very happy. I think I'm as proud of this as any movie I've ever done.
Yeah. And how long did it take to get it all put together?
We're still working on. We're in. There are going to be 5 comics, and we're doing number 4 right now. So we got one more to go after this, and then we're done. So 3 of them are the next one's going to be out next month. They come out once a month, and so a year and a half's work, a little more than that actually, and it'll be out there. It's kind of a mirror. Graphic novels to me are pretty incredible because they demand such specificity. You have to be specific about every aspect of it.
Yeah.
And that's without restraint. There's no art anyway. So, I had to learn how to do comics.
Yeah.
I've been an actor.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like only until recently they were never really considered, serious art. But now graphic novels and comics have this just almost hugest fan base I think they've ever really had.
I think it's going to get more so because as better stories are told, you know, it doesn't have to be guys in spandex all the time jumping over the buildings. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be really good stories. I love some of these comic guys. Eric Powell and Tim Bradstreet, Sienkiewicz, and all these guys that I've come to know are really Mike Mignola. I actually gave him an Eisner Award down at Comic Con, but I mean, I just got swept into this comic book world, and I have nothing but respect for these people.
Yeah. Actually, I'd like to move on. You had a guest spot on one of my favourite TV shows a couple of years ago, NCIS, and I've always wanted to know what the atmosphere is like on set. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, those guys, they're really kind of the happiest guys I've ever been around on a television set. I mean, they really have a lot of respect for each other, and they make everybody that comes on the show feel really special. And they treat you with a lot of respect, naturally, because that's the way they are.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was fun to do. Yeah.
Mark Harmon is a carpenter, of course, in his spare time, and in your spare time you enjoy pottery. So did you find you had a lot in common with him?
Oh yeah, I gave him a couple pieces of pottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what people do that work with their hands. They're willing to share it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an obsessed potter. I'm not what you might call. It's not my hobby. Down there, I disappear for months on end. I mean, just you know.
What is it that attracts you to it?
It's a search. It's an amazing search. I think ceramics got. I painted long before I made pottery, but as a search, what happens is you end up pursuing an idea that has happened accidentally. in the process of the firing and the whole thing. And you start pursuing that, and it opens up incredible adventures. I know it sounds crazy. I wanted to actually do a television show for like History Channel or one of those called Lick My Bowls. And what I wanted to do was open up people's mind about what ceramics are. It's not grandma's working in painting little cups, and a lot of potters make things, but it's really an adventure, man.
Yeah.
It hung around with me. I just bought some equipment, so I'm always upgrading my intentions of what I'm going to do. It's insane.
And one of my favourite roles of yours, and I believe it's actually one of your favourite roles as well, was as James Cooper in Stone Cold. Now, originally your character was always supposed to be quoting the Bible, but instead you completely improvised the role. Can you talk us through the process of how you did that?
I got to tell you, after that movie, the whole biker world, is very, there are people that love to ride motorcycles because once you get on it, you forget everything else that's going on in your life. You're just totally involved in just driving and looking at the view. And that to me is everything about motorcycles. I mean, I love them for that reason. But when I got into this movie, I realized that the challenge was going to be, how do we make a world out of this and really make it believable? And what had happened was that the writer, and I'm not speaking ill of the dead, he passed away, but he was going to direct it, he wrote it. Well, my character had, when I got there, it had always biblical. And I thought, the minute I open my mouth, the audience is going to lean back and say, I'm not going to listen to a word this guy says again. Yeah. And so he got fired. And it was like, I was there for a week already waiting to start. And I hadn't filmed even a foot of the movie. And a new director came in named Craig Baxley. Yeah. Who I really liked immediately. When I saw him walking into the lobby, I called him, and before he even unpacked his bags, and I said, Craig, at the risk of getting fired, I got to tell you some stuff that really, we got a real problem on our hands. And so we sat and had a coffee or a beer, I don't remember which, and I explained to him that we could improvise almost the whole role, based on not changing the narrative of the movie, but based on the moment. I mean, let's live in the moment, because then we'll have a shot at this. And so every morning we would get up, Ryan Bosworth and I would get up and get into a big trailer and sit there and improvise the scene together. And that's the way we did the whole movie. And Craig, being as good as he is with action, he supported it, man. He was really a great guy. And it happened that way. I mean, otherwise, I could have just as easily been fired, But it worked out. That's a scary story, isn't it? I mean, it really is true. It's true right down the line. Imagine getting fired because you have a good idea.
Yeah. I know. That probably happens more often than people would like to admit.
Yeah, probably.
Now, another one of my all-time favourite movies, is that arguably my favourite role of yours, was as Fouchon in John Woo's Hard Target. Now, John Woo has since said that there was a lot of studio pressure surrounding the movie. Was there anything cut from it that you regretted?
There was a little bit. John had this great idea where I was playing the piano. There's a scene where I'm sitting there playing the piano, and he wanted to have memories of a hunt that I did where I'm killing African animals. I'm shooting elephants and tigers and not tigers, but lions and water buffalo while I'm playing. So you're almost getting into Fouchon's head, where he just loves the hunt. He loves to kill. I mean, it was a character that I had given the idea to John Woo, that I had been in the French Foreign Legion with Pic, who was my right-hand man, and that's why we were still together. And that our speed limit, in order to feel normal, we had to be doing some really scary stuff because we were so used to battle. So it all worked out. Again, it worked out. Yeah. But I'm sure that John, that was his first American film, and in a lot of ways, we all lament the fact. I think, I don't know if you do, but I certainly do, lament the fact that they didn't just leave him alone and make his own movie. He's a great director.
Yeah, he's one of my all-time favorite directors, and it's a shame he left Hollywood because he found there was so much studio interference that he wasn't allowed to make the film he wanted to make. So that's why he ended up going back to Hong Kong, because there was more creative freedom there.
Well, that's why I did the comic, because I had written a movie that I wanted to do, and I really believed in the idea. And the idea came from inspiration, and it's very hard to let go of your inspiration because of some kind of corporate bureaucracy,
Yeah.
And even the comic has been a pleasure for that reason. And if they had put the screws to me making this comic, I think I would have left the comic book world.
Now, you've actually played the character of Bishop in various incarnations in several Alien-related movies like Aliens, Alien 3, Alien vs. Predator, and then you even voiced him in a few video games. What is it about the character that draws you back to him?
Well, I know it so well, that particular character. I mean, I know both sides of him. Over the years, we've created a whole reality about Bishop. And Cameron came up with a great idea at one point. He said, I'd like to do another version of Bishop where somebody had toyed with his brain and there was something going on, and Bishop felt it but didn't know what it was. But he was constantly bothered by it because he felt he might hurt somebody. And I thought, hey, Jim, that's a pretty cool idea. I mean, that's very actable. But anyway, over the years, people have come up with all these avenues for Bishop, because I never went out and looked for any of this. You have to describe acting as a kind of a kiss in the dark. It comes to you when you don't know who, what, where, when, or how it's going to happen, but somebody out there is writing as we speak, and they're going to call me up and say, I've got this, I'd like you to be in this movie, and it really, you have to catch up. You're always put in the position of having to catch up and do the best you can to make their whatever their project is work. So it's a fascinating existence. I mean, that's why I have pottery too, by the way. I need the normalcy. I need that grounded. But and I need labor too. Anyway, but so in answer to Bishop, I always felt very flexible about Bishop, even when we did. Alien versus Predator. I sat down with Paul Anderson and talked. He explained the whole movie to me, and then we discussed how it happened. How does Bishop come out of Wayland? And I said, we talked about it and realized that Bishop was a tribute to Wayland, who started it all. He was a billionaire, and they did it in his image because it was a tribute. When robotics became that sophisticated. So it was a great idea, and these ideas fly in and float in and out, and I'm always game. I mean, I'm really always game. Like the Millennium series that I did, there's a big fan-backed push. I actually call them the Tribe, but to get a Millennium film made, and because nobody was happy with how Millennium ended. And they all feel like a tribute to that whole show would be to make a movie. It doesn't have to be a $50 million movie. It can be a $10 million movie, and still be good. And I got a lot of ideas for it, and a lot of people have been talking about it. So these things could happen, can happen, and often do. But when you least expect it, it's a crazy life, man. You have to be ready to go when they say, hey, the door's open, you want to come in?
Yeah. Do you actually think that the Millennium movie will ever happen?
I hope so. There's been a book written. It's called Back to Frank Black, and it's a really well done book. Chris Carter wrote the introduction, and Frank Spotnitz is in it, and all the actors are in it, and some directors, and it is a very genuine book and very entertaining. Yeah. It's out right now. It just came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, you've also done your autobiography, Not Bad for a Human. Actually, what about Bring Me the Head of Lance Henriksen, which is a great name? It's a rather bittersweet story of ageism in Hollywood. Can you tell us how that project came together?
Well, I got a call out of nowhere from a guy that I'd worked with. He was the director in one of the Sasquatch movies. And he wrote it and directed it. which I'm never going to do another Sasquatch movie, by the way. But 3 of the damn things, and I don't have any more Sasquatch art in me. but he called me and he said, I got this idea about ageism in the industry, and that is when people reach a certain age, then they're not in as much demand, especially women, and you know.
Yeah.
And this guy Tim Thomason, who I've known for years because we did Near Dark together, and you know, we ran into each other a million times. He's a great guy, he really is, and he's the lead in it. He's an aging actor who every time he goes in for a role, he finds out that it's either been offered to me or I have the role, and he gets really crazy about that. He starts stalking me to find out how do I do it, because he wants the roles too, you know. So that's what it ends up being about. And the whole thing is improvised. There's not a written line, and it's pretty funny. We've already shot it, so we're just seeing where it's gonna, what it's gonna be.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the teaser trailer itself was very entertaining.
Isn't that silly?
You know, it's sort of funny but sad at the same time.
I know. That's the best part of it. But, you know, and every actor in the world wants to be on it. I mean, you know, John Saxon's in it. Adrienne Barbeau is in it, and all these different people. And the reason they're in it is they have a lot to say, man. And so when you get them to improvise and they start flying, you know, doing all this stuff, it's pretty funny.
Yeah. I was always a big fan of John Saxon and Adrienne Barbeau, actually. I was always a huge fan of Adrienne Barbeau in like the early 80s whenever she did The Fog, which is one of my favourite movies of John Carpenter.
Oh, yeah, she's great, man. I've talked to her a few times, and really, it's cool. She's very cool people. And the way to describe Tim Thomerson is he has a heart as a baby's head. You know, he's the sweetest man you've ever been around. I mean, he really is. And he's very funny. For years, he did stand-up comedy. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah. That takes balls, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I always hear that. I remember Seth Rogen saying it, stand-up comedy, and he said that's harder than any acting gig because you just got to stand up in front of this audience, and the pressure is constant. I know I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you're naked up there. I mean, there's no, you know, you are it.
And actually, I meant to say you've worked with James Cameron on several projects. Would you be interested in a role in any of the Avatar sequels if and when they ever come about?
Oh, hell yeah. Sure. I love his work. I mean, how
Oh, yeah.
He's so creative. He's so, and it's so polished, beautiful, man. He does great work. What can you say? And he really, the work part, he's a worker, man. He really is a worker. You know, shit. Guy knows how to get something done. Yeah, I love this. Avatar is, who wouldn't want to be one of those blue people, man? Ooh.
I remember whenever I first saw the trailer, I wasn't sure what to make of it, and then whenever I went into the cinema and I put those 3D glasses on, I was just instantly transported to the world of Pandora. I thought it was just a fantastic film and just amazing imagination in it.
You know, he wanted me to come down and see how they did it, because he was saying to me, I was at a screening with him, and not of Avatar, but of something else, and he said to me, come on down and I'll show you. All I have to do is record you, and then I can do movies, even if you're not there. And I said, whoa, I don't think I want to do that. I didn't want to go down and see how it was done, because I really wanted to see the movie fresh. And I love that movie, I must tell you, man. There's going to be more, buddy. He's working on that.
Yeah, I think he's got another 2 in the works or something. They're in about 2015 or something. They're a fair while away, but you've got to get all the technology together for it, so it takes a while to put it together.
If the technology doesn't exist, he creates it.
Yeah. He's one of the biggest innovators in Hollywood. I think sort of he and Peter Jackson just now are sort of the 2 biggest innovators in terms of technology.
You know, it's going to happen. I mean, there always are going to be those guys in every generation that are going to make the step forward, you know. And I like it Jim's doing it because he's a great storyteller. It really is.
I mean, the technology doesn't take over.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Another one of my favourite movies was Martin Campbell's No Escape in 1994 with Ray Liotta, and I had these huge sets built for the insiders and outsiders, and I believe it was shot in Queensland. Were there a lot of technical difficulties in the creation of the movie?
Oh, it was a huge movie in the sense that there were so many extras. You saw it. I mean, it was a very big movie. The Aussies are great people, man. There were guys from Queensland that came out of the bush, you know, to be in the movie. You know, there were hundreds of them.
Yeah.
They're great people, man. You know, I don't know what to say about the Aussies because if you give them a compliment, they'll look at you like you just crapped in their birthday cake or something. But you know, they're great. They're great people, and there was no difficulties. I don't think. I mean, from what I saw, the only difficulty was that we were in this little town called Atherton, which was up in the tablelands because they needed this big lake, you know, to put the main kind of prop building there, you know,
Yeah.
and and there was nowhere for the actors to stay. I mean, we were hours away from any. There were hundreds of people involved, and there was nowhere to stay. So people were actually moving out of their houses into their garages and renting their houses to actors and producers and everybody else. So it was a little embarrassing, but
Mm.
I mean, everybody made some money, but still, that was the only technical difficulty. I mean, I think the rest all went pretty well.
Yeah. And the finished product was great.
Wasn't that a great set?
Oh, it's fantastic. So I just thought it looked fantastic. I mean, when I watched the DVD of it recently, I just thought all of the visuals and everything stand up so well because I'm a huge fan of practical sets rather than CGI sets because it just always looks so much better.
Did you know that the sets on Alien versus Predator, we shot that in Prague, and they were
Oh, really?
all there was no green screen. That was all real.
Yeah.
It was
I always think
giant.
I think he's a very underrated director, Paul Anderson and Alien versus Predator. I love the whole visual style of it, and he is another guy who likes to use props and makeup rather than a lot of computer graphics. And
Well, he's very involved, man. I mean, I don't know what that word underrated means. You know, because look, the talent is there, the storytelling ability is there, and he, you know, he's going to be around no matter what anybody says, and it all is coming from the outside, not from what he's doing.
yeah,
You know, he loves his work, he loves what he does. So I've never understood underrated. I look up the word and go, what the fuck does that mean?
yeah,
Where does that come from? Maybe people just like to say that. You know, you're really underrated. What if my wife said that to me? Hey, honey, you're really underrated in this house. I think I'd take it as a compliment.
yeah. It'd be worse than being overrated, I suppose. Actually, I just want to. I've got a final question. Is that you recently signed on to star in a top secret role in NBC's Hannibal TV series? Are you able to tell us anything about your character, or at least what attracted you to the project?
No, I can't. They're keeping it really secret. You know, I really appreciate them taking an interest in what I'm going to do in it. You know, I'm going to have fun doing it. I
Yeah,
promise you.
it's got a great cast.
Yeah, it's good. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to be good.
When's it on? Is it later this year or next year? Or?
Later this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. I'll check that out then. Well, that's actually everything I wanted to ask. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with the Action Elite, and all the best with all your future projects.
Thank you. You know, thank you for your interest. No shit. I mean, I appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thank you.